Brian, what's your assessment as Bradford return to winning ways against Hunslet this evening?
I thought we made some really good improvements. Structure of our defence, I thought we looked really comfortable. With the ball, and certainly in the first half, we were a bit ordinary, but we came up against a very determined team that's had some adversity. That happens. And so they got a few breaks. I thought the game was really slow. I thought it was frustratingly slow. So we didn't get the benefit of a lot of things that we did in the first half. So we'll need to look at that. In the main, I'm reasonably pleased. You know, I thought defensively we looked really strong and didn't look threatened. But as I say, we've still got some improvements with the ball. It's difficult to run around people on this field. I think that's what we tried to do the first half. And I think the second half we addressed that, and then the game got scrappy and slow, probably not because of what we were doing, but maybe what the opposition were doing.
First time this season you've kept a championship opponent to no points scored, so yeah. That on the basis, Brian, when you said comfortable, that kind of backs that one up.
Yeah, it's a difficult one because I thought we were comfortable. I never once thought, well, this team's going to get us in any way, shape or form, but you know, I think even that team, even Hunslet thought they weren't going to get us, but they had a lot of people that, you know, the effort levels were really high from Hunslet, and we played into their hands, and the game got slow and we couldn't speed the game up. I'm not, you know me, I'm not one for the officials, but it was a slow stop-start game.
In that first half, Brian, there was just the Jordan Lilly try.
Yeah.
How happy, frustrated were you at half time with just 6 points on the scoreboard?
It is frustrating, but you have to keep your focus. Other teams are allowed to play against you, and you know that's the best they've played for a few weeks. Because I've not scouted them, but I've seen their games. That's the best they've played for a while, and their energy was high. We probably lacked a little bit of patience in the first half. I think if we executed properly in the second half, the score might have been 40 or 50. So yeah, I'm relatively pleased. We're building back to where we want to be. We managed to rest a few people tonight and have a look at other people as to what can contribute to our running. So in the main, I'm reasonably pleased.
There was 5 changes made.
Yeah.
Is it fair to say that did have a bearing on that cohesion and connectability in what was served up in that first half?
We had another new spine. We had some people that haven't contributed for a while in the mix. But that's the vagaries of this competition, you know. We came up the right side of the scoreline. As I say, I thought it was comfortable in the end. Didn't look comfortable at half time, and everybody gets a little bit nervous. Everybody kicks cans around the car park and thinks, oh, is it this or is it that? I don't think I'd have thought that. But there's still a few lessons that we need to learn with the ball of how we can be successful. Listen, we've had some fantastic tries this year on all sorts of fields at all sorts of times, and we're just a bit clunky with the ball at the moment, and I'm confident we can unclunk all of those crinkles.
How pleased, happy are you with what you delivered at half time and what was served up in the second half? Obviously 28 points and obviously, you know, another scoreless second half.
Yeah, it's about processes, you know. We needed to help ourselves with a little ruck speed because we weren't getting any help, I think. And we managed to do that. We got clumsy a couple of times, but the game was very stop-start. I keep saying that now. I don't want to sound repetitive, but it's frustrating for a coach when you're winning the ruck and you're dominating it. You don't want it to stop for somebody clipping somebody off the ball or clipping somebody around the head or messing around at the ruck. It's frustrating, and I think that spilled over towards the back end. We saw that in a couple of incidents. So we'll have to look at what we could have done better there, but you know, without being, we're not exactly popping the champagne corks here, but it was a good win after a disappointing result last Sunday.
Just on what you're clearly describing as frustrations, a slow ruck and stop-start nature, would you have liked the match officials to have got control a bit more early, because that second half, Brian, I don't think I've ever seen a more brutal second half where Keelan Foster goes with the elbow straight on Tom Holmes, and when you watch it back on the replay, it's premeditated, there's no attempt to tackle, it's almost like referees lost control and everybody's taking, you know, the game into their own hands.
Well, they're good observations from you, and we'll go through the right protocols. It's a difficult job as refereeing, but there were some things out there that went against us that shouldn't have gone against us.
I know you've mentioned it before, Brian, is that picking up the phone to Phil Bentham, Paul Cullen, Julian King, whoever the RFL decide, Brian's on the phone, you need to answer?
I don't think I have that kind of standing at the rugby league anymore, but I'd certainly like somebody to answer, yeah.
First half, Jordan was in that 9 role. Second half, it looked like you replaced Meadows with Lily in the halves. Describe your thought process behind that, Brian.
I think we needed to square up a little bit more than we had. And that's the way that we did it.
And obviously, he did come back on later on, did James Meadows. Yeah. Good try assist for him to put Wonga Blake in. Yeah. Would you, when you review it, would you have liked to have seen probably a bit more sort of calmness, composure, which might have resulted in more points? Are you happy with the 34?
No, I would have liked 134, but the reality is Huns had a dig in the first half, and so that's what happens. And that, I've looked at their games, and that's the best they've played for a few weeks. I think we lacked patience in the first half. Patience for our energy and our go forward to get its maximum effect, because of not completing sets and dropping the ball. It's not a new criteria for us, so it's something that we have to address, and we will, and we are doing. And but we don't need to be playing our best football this week. We've got a massive game coming up next week that we're all looking forward to.
You mentioned pre-match when we spoke, Brian, on the live stream about, you know, resting players, freshening things up. How do you feel Emmanuel Wayne, Nathan Mason went certainly in that second half, some big bulldozing runs which allowed, you know, Bradford to play for the back and score some points?
It was their opportunity. Now we've got to look at the pitches, see what we've got, and how we best organise all of that to play our best football. Which might not be pretty up me round me off me stuff. It's effective football that needs to be fit. That certainly is running into the running. You know, I think it's 9 games now. We certainly need to pick up our form. We're playing a team next week that we've gone close to once and had a scrappy game in the 1895 again. It's a big challenge there. They're probably the form team, but I think our best is as good as theirs. So we need to bring that to the table next week. Yeah, I'm excited for what's to come. Without being damp on tonight, it was one we needed to get out of the way and cure a few things defensively, and I think we did that.
With Guy Armitage out with that hamstring injury, Brian, Kieran Gill's played on the wing last week and he's played on the wing tonight, and he's come up with 4 tries in 2 games. Does that answer the wing?
Is it the new Eric Growth, or is it Wendell Saylor, or I wonder who he's going to be likened to?
As you've said, you know, you're not blessed with having wingers, but is that potentially an option now you maybe look at full time whilst Guy Armitage is out?
We'll make some good decisions. You know, it's important. I'm still on the board, and the chief executive are still encouraged to bring new talent in, and I'm certainly keen for that, whether that be an outside back or whatever position, etc., etc. I think we've seen the impetus that Aribi gave to us tonight. You know, give everybody a lift. And that can happen with a bit of freshness.
What's the latest with Conrad Harrell, Brian?
Yeah, well, he played tonight, didn't he?
It's
yeah,
you know where I'm going.
Relationship with St Helens. We made decisions this weekend as to what's happening and what's not happening.
Is it fair to say that his loan could go either way at this stage?
Yeah, of course it is.
And you've just referenced being in charge with the board. Fair to say with that big game against York coming up, the fans might get excited. Bradford might strengthen this coming week?
Well, it's about availability. I know the board are as keen as I am, but I've said this before, it's all speculation linking us with X, Y and Z. I won't bring a player, we shouldn't bring a player in that's not better or equally as good as the ones we've got.
Just finally from me, Brian, Friday night, big party
Yeah, look,
atmosphere.
it was good.
Biggest crowd of the season here.
Quite enjoying Friday nights at the moment. The bangers at the start were brilliant. Well done, the red, amber and black bangers. I really loved them. And yeah, a few more fireworks. But the entertainment beforehand, you know, the charity game that was on, I thought that was good. You know, and it's good to see the stadium being used for a whole evening of entertainment.
So Brian, these sort of games, as you sort of alluded to, you're almost on a hiding to nothing, aren't you? When you're playing a team, they're bottom, they're on a bad run, they've conceded a lot of points, I think everyone just expects you to score a shed load. Do you think that sometimes rubs off a little bit on the players in the sense that perhaps they're trying to force things a little bit?
Well, I'm not quite as flat as everybody else is. I knew they were going to, everybody aims up here, everybody aims up against the Bulls. And the fact that we didn't win 70-0 because they've had some difficult times is due to the fact that they actually aimed up tonight. If you have a look at what they did, certainly defensively, they were tough in the first half, and we were, as the best expression for it, impatient and clumsy with the ball. And there's a process in games. You have to go through that process to get either the physical attributes right or the skill attributes right, you know, to impress upon the opposition. And we weren't patient enough in the first half, which made it more difficult, and we tried to run around people. Well, you can't do that unfortunately. And I think we learnt that lesson. I think we took that lesson on board at half time and played a whole lot more direct.
You sort of sense that once you got that second score ahead, then it was sort of open up the game a little bit more, and then you could sort of, as you say, turn the pressure and turn that control into the points that you couldn't get before, right?
Well, we didn't start this second half too well. We dropped the ball and played three, so it meant that we had to have 3 defensive sets on our own. There's some clear information we can give to the players that's really, really going to help them, but we have to take it on board. I thought the game was comfortable in the end, and it became scrappy because Hunslet wanted it to be scrappy.
And nilling a team, you know, in terms of the dressing room, that must be
brilliant. We spoke after the game. I said, yeah, fantastic effort defensively, because structurally we looked like we knew what we were doing defensively as well, which was important.
And also that's down to concentration as well, isn't it? Especially when the game was sort of effectively won. You still
you can let a sloppy one in, and you can not have 0 against you. Let's see, right? Yeah, you're absolutely right.
You mentioned having another different spine out there tonight. I mean, you've got lots of options there. You've used lots of different combinations this season. Have you got it in your mind now what that best combination is for this tough run in for the rest of the season?
Yeah, I think so. But the health stakes, you know, the mash unit's going to be out again this week. We've got a couple of head knocks that we have to assess. So yeah, I'm pretty comfortable with where we're going. It's whether we're healthy to the ones that we want to put out there.